Welcome to Analytics are for the nerds. We are entering week 8 this week in football, which means no bye weeks for any teams. We have an amazing show this evening. We have featured analyst on FTN Fantasy, Jeremy Popolars, and we're excited to be here.
Pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up.
Hey everyone, what a great week. We're going to talk about Dynasty finally. There you go. Ryan, you get to talk the entire time.
That's right. This is my show. Lou will not get to speak tonight, but we'll hear from him next week.
Yeah, we got Dynasty. We've got Louis on BBM.
Yeah, baby, I'm back to number 2. Look at this, real. Man. This is, it's getting real, guys. I know I've joked around a little bit, but it is starting to get pretty real. I haven't moved around been in the top 5 now for 4 weeks straight. I literally thought this was going to be one of those weeks where I dropped and just like the dream was going to end, and it wasn't the best week. And when I ended up still in second, I was like, oh, this is getting real. Like this is going to be a lot of fun going down the stretch here. And it is kind of the stretch, right? Like it is, we're getting down to the nitty gritty here. It's halfway through, and I wanted to show off the leaderboard just because, just in case nobody believed me, but I'm having trouble with that. Hold on, share screen. Let's do that. Best Ball Mania. Oh, look at that. That's so sexy.
Let's see.
Is that not so sexy?
Oh,
little Louis G sitting in second. You know what I'm doing? I'm catching myself listening to every podcast talking about this to just see how many times I get mentioned. I'm a attention whore. But the team did pretty good this week. Like, did I just do that?
Yeah. I wonder what that extra 100 points that they had.
Well, we have a new public enemy number 1. This is important,
Yeah, it is important. So I did look through like our differences, which is like he's got Hurts, Murray, and Jimmy G as his quarterbacks, but I got Pickett and Howell, not great compared to his, but our running back differences, the only running back differences we have, because we both have Mostert and Ashan, like he's got AJ Dillon and ETN versus my Spears, Rashad White, Kyron Williams. I kind of like that. And then kind of weird, like our wide receivers are all unique. For being that close, you would think there would be a little bit of overlay, but our whole wide receivers are unique. So there's like a lot to root for. Kelsey and Andrews, the double tight end that I have there, finally paid off this week in a really big way. They pretty much kept me in the 2 spot, but we're getting real here, guys. It's gonna
one thing that's important is that you have the benefit now of having built up those points, and now building that lead. It's insurmountable for certain teams, right? There are certain teams that just cannot be in the top 10,000 just because they're down at 780, 800 points. They're just not going to catch up no matter what happens. And it also is shaping up nicely for you to have Achan in your back pocket, because it does sound like his return in week 11 is quickly approaching, and he looks like he'll be cleared for that. So Lou, it's looking good. I'm every time Kelsey and Andrews do well, I'm thinking, I'm like, man, he's just banking those points, because that's really, I think, the differentiator for you, for this team, compared to others.
Yeah, the uniqueness. And who the number 1 team doesn't have? I said the wide receivers are unique. They don't got no Puka. Only I got Puka. I mean, me and 7 million other teams, but I'm in second. I'm ahead of them. So that's
congratulations.
Thank you.
I know you were floating in week 1 for a second. So during this past week, I know you were also in 1 so you're gonna get back up there. I believe in you.
So. Yeah, I appreciate it. want to tell the listeners about this new little contest we're gonna do?
So this is a surprise.
I told you like right before the show. So do you want me to sorry?
Hi, Ryan, you are our new contest winner. So, listener, we are going to do a contest. If you like, subscribe, and share, or we have a YouTube channel that we want to get some likes and shares on. If you do that, you can potentially win a spot on our podcast for a week where you can help us do our fantasy draft and help us even pick what we want to draft.
Yeah, we'll let them pick the draft that week. I hope Walrus Balls doesn't win, and then he comes in and starts.
I want him to reveal himself.
Yeah, I do want. Let's bring on our guests first.
And
go ahead, bring in our guests.
Speaking of, we have a featured analyst for FTN Fantasy, Jeremy Popolars. And Jeremy, I hate to say this, but you were our second choice this week because we wanted Walrus Balls, who was the number one at BBM before Louis was. But alas, no, but seriously, welcome to the podcast. I know you have so many great takes, and FTN, not a bad place to speak on, right?
I wouldn't say great takes. I've been getting the backlash to the Travis Etienne Tank Bigsby summer battle that I probably should concede the flag to, but still I'm holding out hope. But I appreciate being on. And I am excited to talk about it. And it's all right. I'm second to everybody. I still feel like I was like second in my wife's choices too. I don't know. I haven't decided yet.
Well, one place you're not second in is in our Scott Fishbowl division. He's 13-1, this guy, and has already clinched a playoff spot, which is a big accomplishment in this large tournament. So give us the secret sauce, because Lou and I are at the other end of that that leaderboard. So give me the update on how to do better next year.
Lou, I thought Lou was going to get lucky with Richardson. You took Richardson, right, if I remember correctly? Yeah. I thought it was looking good. It was an unfortunate injury. But honestly, I was talking to Lou a little bit before I got on here. It kind of just worked out. Like, I've done it now. This is my third year. In the last two, like, my goal was to just make the playoffs this year, honestly, because I haven't in the past two seasons. And this year, it just kind of worked out where, like, the week before, like, week one, I was just kind of like, Michael Carter's not going to get some runs, so I added Kyron Williams because he wasn't drafted, and that just worked out for a little bit. I drafted Jerome Ford because, like, one of my big beliefs and stuff that even I've learned from people at FTN is, like, handcuffing certain running backs, not necessarily because you have them, but that backfield that you want. And so, like, I went with Jerome Ford in the draft just because Cleveland's a heavy run team. They're a good run team. They could put anybody back there, and they're going to get yardage. Look at Kareem Hunt coming off the street. It's like that, or like the Rams. Same thing with Kyron Williams. It was just the good schemes that can kind of produce with whoever they put back there. So I went with Jerome Ford, and then I was talking to Louis. Like, I've been in on Puka from the beginning, so I grabbed him late, and it just kind of worked out that all these guys are hitting at the moment. And that's kind of the secret is a little bit of luck, but just kind of everything just seems to work out at this point.
I want to blame my bad team on actually running the event as well. Okay,
that was pretty complicated.
Flustered, and I'm always it's been 2 years of like nothing going great at the event. The Thurman event was really good, but I thought
they were both good
going on. And last year was a lot smaller, but it was still it was one of those things I was like, oh, smaller, I don't need any help this year. And then I realized I needed a little help. So I
thought last year's was good. Last year's was good. I attended as a guest last year.
The Thurman
this year,
one?
I thought it was a good one. I liked it.
I like Thurman. The Thurman one was great. It just we did wonderful. It was just a really big event that we put together in like 3 weeks, which was
impressive, by the way.
Yeah, it was challenging. Well, I appreciate that. Allie, I'm sorry. You want to just leave me and Jared alone? We're going to talk a little bit about.
No, it's good.
I should have warned you guys before. I can ramble. It happens.
You know what I just noticed too, Allie, is good thing you shaved today, because all four of us would have had beards.
That would have been
that would have been awkward.
It would have been. As an Irish person, I've got like no, I'm very just soft, so we're good. I don't know.
I'm very sorry.
Okay, moving forward. Check 1 2. Hello. Okay. So let's get into Dynasty takes. It's a big week for that as we enter week 8. We all can now come to terms if you are a contender or a seller. On seller teams, we'll start with sellers first. Who are some players you'd be interested in selling and for what price? And we're going to start with you, Jeremy.
Ooh, yay. So the way that I play Dynasty, and the way that I like kind of portray it is that I'm usually pretty open. I try not to like lock into too much of like the fandom and like there's these players that are untouchable. Obviously, being a Bills fan, being in Buffalo, I do have Josh Allen in a lot of places, so that's probably like the one untouchable. But I usually try to just kind of move whoever and that has the value prior to that immediate age cliff. So I wrote down on the sheet just like kind of aged out running backs, wide receivers. Those are kind of your two go-tos when you're looking to sell if you're into looking towards that rebuild. For me, it's going to be those guys that aren't at the proverbial like age cliff. So like I don't want to try and sell Julio Jones. Like obviously you're not going to get anything for Julio Jones, but you're looking at those guys that are 1 or 2 years away that still have perceived value that next year they might hit for the team that you trade them to, but in a year from now they're probably not, and now you at least can get a decent value. I don't want to go collect a ton of thirds or like Terrace Marshall type level players. I'm looking to try and go ahead and get, like the Devon A-Chains, A-Chain might be tough, but you're like the Tank Bigsby, Charbonnets, like that grouping from this year's rookie class, or, the Javonte Williams who haven't really came on yet from their injuries, players like that. And to do that, you're going to be looking at like that level tier of like for example, I have mostly wide receivers, but I was kind of like hitting around like the Mike Evans, the Terry McLaurin type level, the Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, like those guys are still elite type of talents in fantasy. But if you're really rebuilding, you're likely a year, 2, 3 away. I always push like a 2 to 3 year rebuild because in 1 year it's quick. Like we've seen it even in professional sports. You try to like turn that team over in a year, it usually doesn't work out that well long term, and or even sometimes in that first year. So for me, it's usually kind of projecting 2 or 3 years for a full-on rebuild. So that's where I'm fine with moving. Like I said, the Mike Evans at that 30. Keenan Allen is 30 this year, kind of breaking that mold. But we're seeing it like DeAndre Hopkins isn't really like smashing for fantasy. So like if you'd moved him last year, like now you probably got a second or something for him. Other than that, kind of like the running backs, the Swifts, the guys that are on like their contract year, if you can move those guys.
So anyone who is in Jeremy's Dynasty League, look out for Julio Jones soon, is what you're saying.
I'm going to go pick him up off the wire and try to sell him for first. Wait for that blow-up game when he scores his touchdown.
Yeah, right. Ryan, who do you have as some sellers you'd be interested in selling? And at what price?
Yeah, I want to talk just first about, just like Jeremy did, kind of about overarching dynasty trade principles, because I'm a bit contrarian when it comes to what I like to do as a buyer or a seller. I think sometimes, yes, it's important to make moves that are keeping where your team is in mind. But I'm also not afraid to make a, quote unquote selling move as a contending team, because I think in those situations, that's when you can almost double up on those blue chip elite talents, right? So, you might be selling off someone. This is, things that I've done in the past would be like selling Mixon. I think it was the year before last, when he was really running through teams and just, racking up the points, knowing that in a couple of years, he's going to be hitting this age cliff. Now, he's still certainly producing, but if you can turn those type of assets, or those assets plus a second or a third, and get into that first round pick, this is when the time I love to buy those picks. because this is really when they become available. Even if you are a contending team, I'm always open to making that deal with another contending team if I know what I believe is a perceived value of a player in the next year or in the next 2 years is really what you should be looking at. So some of the sells that I'm looking at right now would be somebody like Jerry Jeudy. There's a bump in his value based on this potentially within the next week that he's going to be traded. Now, you may actually benefit by waiting even longer, maybe until next week, until a trade is made and someone gets excited about the role in a new offense. But production is louder than reputation as a player, right? So if you look at what he's done on the field, he's really not produced. He's not met the first round draft capital. I think he was drafted 15th overall, and you might be able to still get a first round pick for Jerry Jeudy. And I think I would take that run, really, even a late first. So just generally someone like that. Aging running backs, of course, if you can still trick someone into thinking that Derrick Henry's worth a first round pick, you got to take that. Off-season trades I think are a bit different, but right now in-season trades, yeah, if you're looking to sell, don't be afraid to sell a player to and even a semi-elite player or a good to great player for an elite talent, right? Justin Jefferson right now, finding what someone's temperature is on that, or even Amon-Ra St. Brown, who has had a little bit of a slower, comparatively to where he was drafted, a slower start to the season. These are the types of trades you should be looking at, and don't be afraid to move off even worthy high priced assets.
What'd you guys just say? I'm joking. I'm joking. I agree with a lot of the points. I won't take too much time here. This is like the one where I didn't actually write down specific names, right? Because when I am trying to sell on a losing team, that's the one time I kind of lose my inability to not make a trade unless it's perfect for me. I will lose a little bit of value on these teams because I just want to get these. I mean, you look into the offseason, what's Aaron Jones going to do for you? What is Derrick Henry even going to do for you in the offseason? I want to get them off to at least one team that just had an injury or believe in something. I want to get every PJ Walker, any starter, Jerome Ford, guys like that. I want anybody on like that's got short-term starting ability off my roster because I don't want to count on them being a part next year. And even if they are, like, the value is not going to go up. Like Jerome Ford, just say he's the main guy there all year, and then even if he's good and even if he takes over next year, say for Chubb or whatever, he's not during the offseason until that's more clear. He's not going to go for anything more than what he would go for right now anyway. So my whole thing is don't be stingy. If you're sitting there with a 1-6 team right now, like 1-7, yeah, whatever, 1-6, go and get rid of some guys and try to really just flip the roster a little bit, get some picks. And drafting's a lot more fun anyway.
Yeah. Now on win now teams, who are you buying and at what price? You want to go first, Jeremy?
Sure.
Tell us all your secrets.
So I'm going to kind of pivot off a little bit what Ryan said. So I'm looking at guys that haven't really hit their ceiling just yet. You'd mentioned Amon-Ra St. Brown. These guys that had real high expectations coming into the season and really haven't hit that yet, but we know that potential's there. So, for example, one guy like I have Aaron Jones. We saw it week 1. He kind of exploded. I've seen A.J. Dillon now for umpteen amounts of games. Outside of one game where he ran through the Raiders, he has not looked good. So I believe once Aaron Jones is fully healthy, I think Aaron Jones is a guy that's going to be given the workload yet again. Jordan Love struggled, so I do think that he's going to see a pretty similar to what we saw in week 1 once he reaches full health, which will be down the line, and that's where we're going to want him on a truly contending team. Additionally, the Javonte Williams, as a guy who we've seen ramp up, his snap share went up. He's kind of starting to take over that backfield as he gets healthier. Josh Downs is a guy I'm really in on. I liked him in the draft process, and I think that now we have Gardner Minshew all year. I think he fits that offense a little bit better. Minshew's going to throw the ball for all over the yard. They're not going to try to protect him. They trust him enough to do that. We've seen that now for a couple games. So I like Josh Downs as a guy because I think this one too, and a little bit of these others like Javonte, Nico Collins I have on my list, Josh Downs, and T. Higgins. All guys that some have hit a little bit. Collins and Downs are a little bit have hit, but like T. Higgins is down. Jalen Waddle's a guy I thought of while we were talking that haven't hit that threshold yet. A little bit cheaper, that guys that you might be able to go get and still have value next year. So if I have to give up my first to go get T. Higgins, I'm fine with that. As a contending team, I'm going to get hopefully value here now that Joe Burrow's healthier. T. Higgins himself is getting healthier, and we already know what T. Higgins' ceiling is. It's borderline wide receiver 1. So now I can go ahead, send my first, and it's going to be probably 10 or 12, depending on where you are, if you're truly contending. And at the 10th or 12th pick, you're not getting a T. Higgins likely. So that way, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I know who he is. The likelihood of first-round pick hits is very low. I've done some stuff. I actually don't have it pulled up right now, but it's like really, really low as far as percentages when you look back at like first-round picks that hit and continually produce fantasy points. So I'm okay with making a move like that. I don't necessarily want to like go crazy on going to get like Javonte Williams, Derrick Henry, all these really aging guys, because now in the future's not set up. Now I'm going to have to hit on all my draft picks to recuperate the age here in a year or two from now. Additionally, kind of what Ryan had said too, like draft picks, I'm truthfully kind of starting to lean towards like 2025 because 2024 has gotten enough hype at this point that they're starting to get a little bit more valuable, especially in Superflex. But we've actually seen, I know we're going to talk on it a little bit later possibly, so I'm going to not get too crazy, but I think 2025 is getting a little bit nicer. In my own head, I'm kind of projecting this. It could be different, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So.
All right, let's just get rid of 2024. Who needs it?
No, we still want 2024. We still want Caleb Williams and Drake May. But
sorry, I'm not a witch. I can't make it just go away. But true.
I'm a warlock, so I can. Like no.
Nerds.
Okay. Ryan, who are you buying?
I think Allie's seat is wet. I'm sorry.
Good thing I'm wearing black. What are we buying, Ryan, and at what price?
What are we buying? All right. So what I'm buying from three categories or types of players. I'm buying the rookies that had pedigree that haven't yet hit their ceiling, similar to what Jeremy was talking about. I'm going to be buying the boring players who won't cost you a lot that will help you win your fantasy leagues. And then I'm also buying the veterans that I guess it's just two categories of players. I guess we'll put them into those boxes. So I'm talking about for the rookies. I'm thinking even like Bryce Young right now. I mean, we're 6 games into his rookie career, and some people are already willing and ready to write him off. And I just feel like that's absolutely foolish to do. As we've known, or as we've come to learn with quarterbacks and rookies in general, we were ready to crown Baker Mayfield after year 1 as the next big thing. Certainly he has talent, but we need to pump the brakes on some of these predictions. So you might be able to get a decent value. Someone might be even willing to sell, Bryce Young for a late first at this point in 2024, which, if you're a quarterback needy team in a super flex league, I'd absolutely take a shot on the first overall pick who's, clearly has the accolades, in the college career to have a successful NFL career. Some of the other rookies, I still think that Zay Flowers is due for his, absolute breakout. And you're probably going to have a hard time getting him because he had a very, he's already had some of those good games. So, he might cost too much. But then if we look at the other box of players, it's the ones that won't cost as much, maybe second, third round type picks or some combination of depth players plus a pick. And these are guys like Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers has just, you probably could still buy Jacoby Myers right now in most of your dynasty leagues for a second round pick. And I think that's crazy. If you're a contending team, you should jump to do that immediately. He's basically I was listening to one of the I can't remember which podcast the other day, but they're talking about how they split up the target shares between those two players. And it's most similar to how Kupp and Puka Nacua are used in LA, because it's really funneling through those two guys and those two guys alone. And that's extremely valuable. I'm sorry?
You're saying Zay Flowers and
No, I'm saying Jacoby Myers and
Jacoby
Devontae
Myers.
Adams. And
Yeah.
if you consider the fact that Devontae Adams at least has a 15 to 20% chance of getting traded before next week, now you're looking at one guy to command those targets. So go buy Jacoby Myers. In my opinion, that's one guy absolutely I'd love to get pretty much anywhere. And then another guy, just in the sake of time, I'll just offer Alvin Kamara. He's, again, I think a guy you can probably get for a second round pick. I mean, the owner would probably love to get a first round pick, but might take a second plus. And he's a guy that I think in the playoff weeks is going to catch 10 balls for 50 yards, and he's going to get enough for you to help win you a playoff week. So yes, he's 28 years old, which is why he's only getting a 24 second round pick plus. But man, if you're looking for help for your contending team, there's a lot of good names out there.
Excellent.
Just not to take too much time, but I saw a stat today. Our Carr has 69, I believe it is, checkdowns, and the next closest person was like 42. So that tells you where Alvin Kamara's value is for a contending team. So I like that, Ryan.
So Ryan wants well balanced. It's appropriate. Yeah.
We're getting to the point where Allie won't even look at me when you're talking. Okay, so I was trying to make eye contact.
Louis still has Johnny Manziel on his team. We're like,
there's hope.
That was the time. That was the time for the laughter, and she was avoiding it. She was avoiding eye contact. So you might get out of it without it. But no, I will kind of on the sake of time too, just kind of talk here a little bit on the win now teams. Mike Evans is the guy I'm going after. He's on pace for like a career year right now, and everyone's just kind of sleeping on that. I know Baker's banged up, but there seems to be no issues with him starting on Thursday. I think he's going to have a huge game against the Bills tomorrow, to be honest. I love Evans right now, and he's not like I bought him today for I bought him today for Jameson Williams, I want to say, in the league, which, I thought that was right where I'd be going with them for a pick. I think an early second rounder, which you're not really going to have if you're on a win now team unless you got the pick somewhere else. So I didn't have that type of value. So I gave up Jameson. I like that. I'm going to buy him for anything. There's going to be places I bet that I will throw a late first at him here this year. I just really like that. You mentioned T. Higgins, and I just want to take a second on him because he was one guy I wrote down on my list, but not guys that I'm buying on a win now. He's actually a guy that I'm buying on like a losing team. He's one of those guys that is one of that few veterans that I want to buy right now. I think he's I think he's going to go somewhere next year and be a stud somewhere, get a lot of money, be the number one, and get a crazy target share. And we know the talent's there. So I'm buying T. I think this is probably going to be the lowest T. Higgins value will ever be, because I can't imagine him staying out of this offense too much longer, the game plan. And then it's only going to grow throughout the year. And then as soon as he hits free agency and signs with name your team, I think he's going to be
Carolina.
One of the highest, whatever, right? And that's perfect. And then he's a stud. So he's one. Rich is Richardson's another guy that I want to buy. I don't if a win now team has him and desperate because they lost too much. I still don't think anybody smart is getting rid of him. Even on win now teams where I have them, I'm getting stupid offers. Stafford and a good wide receiver for I'm holding him in Superflex, and he was my biggest investment in the offseason, and I'm not going to sell him short now just because he's got hurt. Bad luck, name of the game. You guys don't have to feel so bad for me.
No.
It's fine. I'm second place in the BBM if you don't know.
Let's look ahead at the 2024 draft. So, Jeremy, you had a great preseason 2024 rookie mock draft, and let's just kind of take a look and see how that's changed.
Yeah, and I'll bring it up here sometime this year. I mean, you know it, Jeremy, so you could start talking.
Yeah, I mean, so for this is the top 10. really it hasn't moved a ton really in the top. So kind of what I alluded to a little bit earlier. So guys that are on this that you'll see. So we have Travion Henderson I'm going to bring up and Raheem Sanders, two of what were arguably the top two. I was a little bit bullish at this point on Braylon Allen, who's kind of now consensusly started to become the top running back. But the belief behind a lot of people that are in this college football a little bit deeper is that Henderson and Sanders are both now again nursing injuries, and there's a potential that both of those guys do return because they were both going to be juniors this year, so they still have eligibility. And at that point, you're now going to see Travion Henderson and Raheem Sanders, two of the bigger names in this class, become 2025 guys. So that's where I was a little bit more pushing that also adding the 2025 draft picks is a good idea because people might not be as keyed in on that. Obviously, they could declare this. It still could be 2024 guys. But it's starting to seem like that could be a potential. We could even potentially see Bowers. I think Bowers still comes out, but Bowers did injure, I believe it was his knee, if I remember correctly. It was either that or ankle. Might have been ankle. Yeah. So Bowers, I do think he still comes out, but could be a guy that could stay back. But really, it's not moving a ton here in the top 10. I think there's a lot of movement outside of it. I would say Keon Coleman's a guy who's moved into the top 10 for me at Florida State, wide receiver. If you've watched the Florida State game, he's pretty much the guy making all the highlights. But transferred in from Michigan State and just kind of has been lighting it up. We already knew he was kind of a talented guy, but it was one of those kind of the Jaden Reed effect that we had last year where Michigan State doesn't throw enough. He goes to Florida State now, who's just absolutely peppering him with targets and looks like the real deal. And he like returns punts and he's like 6'4", 210. So like this guy's just a really good athlete. So outside of that, not really moving a ton there, but you've got some risers in like later down. With pull up the article, it's 25. So within the 25, I have some guys moving in there of like the Devin Neals at running back. Bo Collins has fallen a lot out of Clemson. Just really hasn't hit what I was hoping that he was going to have. Quinn Ewers has looked really good. He's hurt again, so there's potential he might not come out. So still a lot of movement. I feel like with this stuff, it's fun to do preseason to kind of get an idea to gauge what your picks could be and who they could become. But once the draft comes, I'm sure that a lot of this won't even look remotely similar. I think the top end's pretty secured. I think you're going to see Caleb, Drake May, Marvin Harrison, and one of the running backs. And then Ibuka seems like the go-to as the second receiver. So I feel like those top 5, 6 with even Brock Bowers, if he comes out, are locked. And then after that, I think it's going to be a little bit, depends on who we get in the first round for quarterbacks. You know, JJ McCarthy's making a push. There's a lot of guys that are pushing. And with quarterbacks, it really comes to draft capital for Superflex for me. If you get a first round quarterback, he should be drafted in the top 2 of Superflex just because obviously the NFL is a little bit better at grading quarterbacks. Not that they always hit. We've seen plenty of misses in our time. But they get to actually have interviews with those players and they can kind of understand a little bit more of what's between the ears, which is a big part of quarterback play at the NFL level that we all know. So I trust them a little bit more in that grading part of it when it comes to quarterbacks. So I'm sure it'll move, but that's a little bit preview of what's moving thus far, I'll say.
I'm a big USC fan, so it's nice to see a QB back up there in the number 1 spot. And we kind of know that maybe New England's going to take him. So, you know,
I don't think so. I think Mac Jones will play him out of it, hopefully. The Bills helped. That was why they lost. Let's do that.
Yeah.
They lost because they're like, no, I can't deal with Caleb Williams. We can't have this again. No, we'll take the loss. We'll make it up at the back end. So.
Yeah.
Rye, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah,
real quick?
Sure. Yeah, my real quick thought on it is that it feels to me a little bit reminiscent of the lead up to the 23 draft in the sense that there were really only at that time 2 quarterbacks that were in consideration for those top couple of spots in a Superflex draft. And it was CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. Of course, Bryce ended up going 1, CJ Stroud goes 2, and then Anthony Richardson goes 4th. And almost unanimously was the first quarterback taken when most of the rookie drafts were being done in July and August. So I find it interesting that now it's really Caleb Williams, Drake May. Those guys are pretty much locked in my opinion. And then there could be room for another one of those guys, you know, whether it's, you know, Bo Nix or you know, Michael Penix and he just, you know, comes into the top 3. You know, I could see it happening. So, it's seemingly a little bit similar, and then they're also with some top talent at the other positions, but really it feels like quarterback heavy. Marvin Harrison Jr., elite prospect. I mean, might be even in super flex leagues. He's certainly going to be probably the first pick in those drafts. But yeah, it feels a little eerily reminiscent of last year for me.
Yeah, and I think you'd even make an argument to go Harrison at 1. I mean, truthfully, even if it's super flex, I get the allure of Caleb Williams, but like Marvin Harrison feels like just a sure thing, and like you're getting the next Justin Jefferson, and that's just so secure weekly in and out. And quarterback play, like I said, you've seen plenty of misses. We've had the Trey Lance, we had Zach Wilson. So not saying that Caleb Williams is going to be a bust, but like there's, I feel, a wider gap for his potential as opposed to what Harrison's could be. So.
Everybody else knows, I don't know if you know, Jeremy, but about 60 of my 70 dynasty teams are super flex and start 2 tight end premium. So tight end is a very important. Oh, it's an awesome
start
format.
2. I mean,
start 2 and both premium. They just to give you an idea of how the format is, the 1-1 in startups this offseason was Kyle Pitts. Like that. Yeah. That is how the format is. Changing the game, and it's evens out all the positions. But I have made a decision to try to get in that bottom 3 for Bowers, Caleb, or Marvin Harrison on any rebuilding teams, and really want to do whatever I can to get there. I'm hoping that what you guys are saying is true, where a couple guys will jump in and cause some confusion, because maybe I can get one of those 3 guys where I have them at 4 or 5 and 6 picks, because I'm locked in at those 3. I think the tight end and Harrison Jr. are, like you said, generational talents. I know Cleb's starting to scare a little bit of people, but I'm still going to go on the hype. I'm still going to believe the hype of who he is and what he is, and think with some good coaching that he's going to be just as amazing as he should be. So,
are you calling him Kleb?
Yeah.
What did it? Caleb. Allie, you're the Jewish girl. What is it? Caleb? All right. Well, I do go to the JCC, by the way.
No, it's going to be funny when next year at the draft at the podium, he's like, actually, my name is pronounced Caleb. And you're
no, he's going to change it on us all.
100%, just like Ethan, and I'm going to have this clip to tell you guys. Yeah. I was saying it even before. I was saying it right before even he was.
I was saying it before he knew it. All right.
Yeah. How do you pronounce his last name of Williams? Will.I.am?
Will.I.am.
His grandfather is watching this right now and going, you know what? You didn't know this, but you can call him right now and let him know what his real name is.
Like, that'll do. That'll do. Yeah.
Louis, so to help you out a little bit, watch for Jatavian Sanders and Bryson Nesbitt. They're 2 tight ends that are probably 2 and 3. They'll probably go later.
I will dig in. I don't dig in anything.
But Sanders is very Brock Bowers-esque. Not as generational, but another big-bodied tight end that's really good after the catch. And he plays for Texas, so just turn on a Texas game. You'll see.
Wow. Ken Dorsey is champing at the bit to not use that guy already.
Oh, yeah. That's the big thing. It's the classic Arthur Smith. You're going to go and draft this guy. Don't even get me started with Dalton Kincaid.
I could go on a rant.
Yeah, we could have an hour-long Dalton Kincaid, the Bills misusage podcast.
We can do that.
No.
Well, but Allie, you work for the organization. You can move on.
No, but totally, he's played every game. Okay. So let's move on to, speaking of great choices, let's move on to stupid holidays.
Well, last week was National Tight End Day, and Kelsey and Andrews go off, help me stay in the number 2 spot in BBM. And I was unaware that was an actual national holiday, but it is, which made me look at a lot more, and there's a lot of dumb ones. And I have a couple. I don't know if you guys looked at, but I looked at any, but I didn't even know. This upcoming Saturday is actually No Stupid Question Day. No, there is no stupid question, which would have been perfect for a day that we were recording a podcast because I feel like it would make me feel a lot better during it. But that's a day. There's also one going through. It's actually in the beginning of September. It's Talk Like a Pirate Day, September 19th. But this is the best. Like, I found the story behind it, and it's just so great that there's actually a story. Talk Like a Pirate Day was founded by friends John Bauer and Mark Summers, not the Double Dare guy. On June 6, 1995, the two were playing a game of racquetball when they started encouraging each other by shouting words of encouragement in pirate slang. They had so much fun playing the game while talking in their pirate lingo that they wanted to share the fun with everyone. So
my only question is, how is it not observed in March?
This conversation's too white for me. White guys are playing racquetball and encouraging each other in racquetball. Like, what nonsense
going on?
The better question is what pirate lingo is encouraging?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
the March line was such a grandfather joke, but I liked it.
It was good.
We gotta do that.
Appreciate you.
I did look some up, and speaking of March 28th is something on a stick day.
Something on a stick day.
That's
what? I don't even know if a flag is
like, I don't know. Like does that count as like a stick? I don't know. You have to put it on like a tree stick.
Popsicle.
Yeah, something on a stick there.
A very offensive one. I'm an ally, and January 21st is Fruitcake Toss Day. I was like, why are we? That's so dumb. And then January 8th is Winter Skin Relief Day, which it's just called moisturizing. Like, why do we have to? Okay,
That's like when you are trying to hit the word count on an essay. You call it Winter Skin Relief Day instead of I just went more literal on it. The dumbest holiday, in my opinion, is April Fool's Day, because look, I feel like, when you're a kid, it can be funny. I mean, my parents, at one point they put in like socks in my shoe and made me like think that my foot had like shrunk or grew too much or something. And, all right, that's okay. But now April Fool's has just turned into like a way for brands to tweet out just like horrible, pretend like, oh yeah, I'm pretending that we're doing this today. And it's just, to me, it's just not ever funny. So ban April Fool's Day. Let's get rid of that.
Yeah, Yeah, like someone's like parents just leave them like, take that. You're like, this is so
just
sad.
You go on Facebook, there's a 1,000 pregnancy and that like fake pregnancy, and you're so funny, cool guys.
No, like, I'm sure a lot of people. Okay, I know. Oh yeah, right. Correct. Boo April Fool's Day. So moving on, we are going to talk about week 8. What was formerly known as Sleepers and Busts, we are now calling our Cats and Dogs. So this should be a little bit more interesting.
Trying to get our two boys ready to carry them to the golf tournament before practice, right? 12 cats live across the road. Our door's open. Screen's broke. We need to get a new screen door, but the screen's broke. So you can come in through the screen, but you can't get back out of it. I turn and look, there's a little kitty cat in our kitchen. So I said, what are you doing in here, little kitty cat? By that time, the cat turns, tries to get back out. That screen won't go that way. Cat starts going. Trying to get our two boys ready to carry them to the golf tournament before practice, right? 12 cats live across the road. Our door's open. Screen's broke. We need to get a new screen door, but the screen's broke. So you can come in through the screen, but you can't get back out of it. I turn and look, there's a little kitty cat in our kitchen. So I said, what are you doing in here, little kitty cat? By that time, the cat turns, tries to get back out. That screen won't go that way. Cat starts going, meow, all crazy. And I told our players, we need more dogs. Bo's barking in the back. I have to go shut Bo up. Mel's like, what's going on? I said, there's a cat in the house. Cat in the house? I said, yeah, there's a cat in the house. So I told our players, I tried to let it out the front door. Meow, meow, the cat's still going crazy in there. And I told our players, you need to be more like a dog. We don't need a bunch of cats in here. Looking in the mirror. Do I look good? I got my extra bands on. I got my other shoes on. Be a dog. We don't need no meows. We don't need no cats. We need more dogs.
I do have to remember when we're seeing that pausing, it's not. I forgot to tell you guys this. It works fine on the feed. So I forgot about it, but it was working fine on the feed, and I freaked out. So sorry about that, but yeah, go ahead, Allie. I'm an idiot.
You're not an idiot. You're just excited to produce something. Let's start with our cats and dogs of the week. We, like I was saying earlier, there's no bye week, so we've got a full cast of players this week. And Jeremy, would you like to go first with your both cat and dog pick?
Sure. So I'm gonna say what?
I was like, if you're not, oh no, you're good. Okay, go.
No, I'm good. So I'm gonna go with my dog first. And it's gonna be Josh Downs. I don't know if you can really call him that after his big week last week, but I think people will be shied away in the New Orleans matchup. I don't know if he's gonna necessarily give us what he gave us last week, but I really still like that matchup in the slot. We kind of saw Christian Kirk. Not really shred him, but had a pretty good week last week for Jacksonville. They're not as great against the slot as they are on the perimeter. With Michael Pittman's going to probably get Lattimore. If I do think he might even be questionable, if I remember correctly. So he might not play, but even if he does, he's going to get Pittman. Pierce will play on the outsides likely, and I think Josh Downs will have a decent day from the slot again. And then as far as my cat goes... let's see. I am going to say, I wasn't fully. I'll say, I'm gonna do it. I'll say Travis Etienne. I just gotta bash him all the time I can.
Hey,
right?
stay true to the brand, brother.
So I don't think it's going to be that bad. Like, I don't think it's going to be terrible, but I see that his consensus rank is, I think, 2 over at Fantasy Pros at the moment. I think he's going to be a little bit more towards the back end of the running back ones, potentially even a full-on bust and falling outside of that. He's really been touchdown dependent lately. Almost 50% of his points have come from touchdowns. Zay Jones is, I think, trending towards playing, which I think is going to have actually a pretty big effect as far as Travis Etienne's touchdowns go. I don't think they really trust targeting Kirk and Ridley, both a little bit undersized receivers. I'm not necessarily that go up and get the type of receiver in the red zone, where Zay Jones is a little bit more like that. So I do think that that's partially affecting why Travis Etienne's being a little bit more used in the red zone as far as just them running the ball in general. So I do think that those touchdowns might dry up. We also I don't know if this is going to correlate, but last year we did see a same stretch kind of from Etienne just a couple weeks later, where he had 3 really big games and then just fell off the face of the earth again. So I do think that there could be that potential coming if the touchdowns dry up. And Pittsburgh's pretty decent against the run. The Jaguars have their own offensive line issues. TJ Watt's a game wrecker. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have to pass. That's kind of how you beat the Steelers at this point in time. So I'm going to say that. That's what I thought last week with New Orleans, and he proved me wrong. So maybe this will be my last-ditch effort at not having to wave the white flag. So
we'll take it. Ryan, who are your cats and dogs?
Yes, my dog this week is a guy that I haven't been big on this year, but the underlying numbers have looked good. It's Rachaad White, and it's against the Bills tomorrow night. I think that the Bills, first of all, as a matchup strategy goes, their best chance of trying to or matching up against this team is to try and slow down Evans and Godwin. So that might leave some openings in the run game. We've already seen teams take advantage of them in the run game before. They've been a pretty favorable matchup for running backs in the past couple of weeks, especially since the Milano and Daquan Jones injuries. We still don't know how much Von Miller is going to be ramping up. And since the start of the season, actually, Rachaad White is only trailing Christian McCaffrey in the amount of routes that he's running. And so I think that's remarkable. I mean, he's really he's every time so that basically just means that he's going out there and he's actually running a route on a high percentage of plays. So, PPR leagues absolutely fire up Rachaad White this week against the Bills defense that is susceptible to the run and the pass. And for my cat of the week, this is very fitting, especially just based on the description that coach just gave us of a cat. He's wearing the bands. He's not really got his head in it. It's Jerry Jeudy. He's coming up again. I hate to be, dogging on him, I guess is the way to put it. But listen, he's just not doing it. He's not performing. He, I think, is too caught up in, this perception of him, right? He's getting into an argument with Steve Smith on the sidelines. Teams are supposedly potentially calling him for a trade, but he's matched up against the Chiefs this week. The Chiefs have actually quietly been a really, really good defense. The last 4 weeks, they've given up 17, 8, 20, and 18 points, and you're going up against the Denver Broncos. So I just can't imagine the Broncos scoring anything more than 14 points, and I'd be highly doubting that any of those points are going to be coming from Judy as far as touchdowns go. So Jerry Judy, my cat of the week.
And Lou.
I'm loving both of you guys right now, because who's on my number 2 overall BBM team out of 667,000 entries? Rashad White. So thank you, Ryan. And who's on the number 1 team ahead of me? That loser, he's got ETN. So I hope you both are right. So I move back up to my throne where I belong. With my cats and dogs this week, I got a couple surprising ones a little bit. I'm gonna go my dog of the week, and this is a guy that I loved and then sold a lot in the offseason, and I'm not saying that anything's specifically going to change, but I want to have him and take that chance this week, and that's Chiggy. Let's say Chiggy, because I always struggle with his last name. But I like him only because of the quarterback change. Whenever there's a quarterback change in a situation like this, where a talented player is not getting the proper targets or looks, I just want to say that maybe somebody comes in and a guy like Levi is going to end up. Levis, sorry. Is going to end up, dumping off to the tight end. It was the same thing on my CJ Stroud Schultz bet that I made this year, and that's kind of paying off. I just want to see. I believe in his talent, so I think the quarterback change might benefit him. I'll play him in more situations this week than I normally would. And my cat of the week is going to be a little bit surprising, but Jalen Hurts. I mean, he's a little banged up. The knee might be, and again, it's kind of like the ETN point that Jeremy made. I don't think he's gonna, be the 25th best quarterback or anything, but I don't think he's gonna be a top 3 quarterback this week. He's banged up. That they sounded a little bit worried about that injury, even though he practiced today. And that Washington D line is just like no joke, and that's who he's playing against this week. So. I don't know. I'm going to go with him as my cat this week.
All right. Great picks for the good and bad players of the week. So fingers crossed, you guys are bad players.
You don't want to keep calling them cats and dogs, was it?
No, I think it's it's a cat. Yeah, no.
Well, speaking of cats and dogs.
Speaking of cats and dogs, we have the cats and dogs fantasy draft this week. So players, be prepared to choose either your favorite real or fictional cat or dog. Louis, do you have our lineup?
I am. I'm randomizing it right now. And Ryan, you got the number 1. Whoa. I think it's been a while since I don't know, maybe not. I got the number 2. Jeremy got the number 3, and Allie, you're number 4. So you'll have the wraparound. So Rye with the first pick of the cat and dog draft. It's a tough one.
I know what he's gonna do.
It is. Well, we'll see, because there's really 2 that I have in mind, I'm going to pick with the one that I think could have gotten back to me potentially, but it is my favorite, and I'm going to go with Kit Kat. Kit Kat.
That's good. I like that. Yeah, I like that. I
feel like maybe it's just Halloween coming up. I don't know if this is a reach, right? You're like, wow, your 101 is Kit Kats, but yes, Kit Kats are the shit, and I don't care if you disagree with me, because that just leaves more for me at the bottom of the actually, no, I feel like most people would agree that Kit Kats are pretty awesome. So yeah, that's my first pick, Kit Kat. Yep.
Man, you had that loaded and ready. I like the originality. I don't think Kit Kat would be my number one pick in here. But now you got me thinking. You shook up the draft, right? You got me on the phone. I don't know what to do. I'm trying to trade back. No one's calling. I think I want to start here. I got to get Scooby-Doo. I think Scooby-Doo is like the dog to have as far as I feel like he's the popular one here. Maybe I'm playing to the masses. Maybe I'm playing to my 2-year-old, but I think Scooby-Doo needs to be a first rounder, and I just can't justify him not on my team. I'm a real Shaggy myself, you know?
It's a good one. I didn't even think of Shaggy.
Go ahead, Jared.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna go real old here and prove my. Well, I guess I'm not super old. I mean, like when you hit your 30s, you feel old, right? I'm gonna go with Spike from the Rugrats.
That was a good one. Spike from the Rugrats was on my board. I thought that was solid. I knew that was gonna go. Not sure it was a first rounder, but you reached out.
I'm reaching.
It's get your guy season. Get your guy season. And Allie, you looked really excited that none of us picked your pick.
Yes. As someone that's on more on the 40 side, I'm going to go even older school in 1998, and I'm going to go 1948 with Snoopy.
It was close.
Come on, the cutest little poop nose. I mean, the best.
He didn't even talk. He didn't talk. He didn't bark. What was the coolest thing Snoopy ever did? Go ahead, tell me right now.
Okay, so he was in every single parade ever.
He's in one of my favorite Christmas songs, Snoopy and the Red Baron. It's a good song.
Oh, I mean, come on, right? It's a big deal. Long live. So I'm so thank you for everyone for being nice to me and doing that. Next up is going to be for my second pick. I love a pretentious character, so I'm going to go with Brian from Family Guy.
That's a great pick.
That's good. He was the other one I was trying to choose between. And would you have taken Scooby-Doo? Probably not. So maybe Scooby would have came back to me. Maybe I fucked up.
And also, heads up, I did win last week's draft, so I just want to.
Oh yeah, we only announced that pre-show. I guess I can tell you all of our fans.
Beef on Wack really sold it.
That was
I didn't realize I was getting graded here.
Oh yeah. You are. Our listeners will vote on this. And,
Spike is a great pick. Spike's a great pick.
All right.
You might draft roast beef again. You might just draft roast beef.
I literally was thinking about referencing the roast beef as a cat because of the whole,
Well, everyone knows I'm drafting Kevin James.
Really Jeremy is like in the dark right now. Do you have the roast beef nearby you?
No, I'll tweet you a picture.
Okay. It's back in her China case or China cabinet.
In the library over there.
I'm sorry.
All right. I'm up, aren't I?
Yeah, you are. Sorry.
You're up.
So I'm gonna go with a cat. I have a dog, so I gotta even this out, right? I'm gonna go with the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland.
That's a good one. I like that. That's solid.
Classic.
That's good looking, colorful.
Yeah, fun, invisible.
My research.
Fun stuff.
There was. I just got the notification for a birthday party that me and Ellie are both supposed to be at right now. But we're here drafting cats and dogs. Doing the important stuff.
Birthdays, they have them every year.
I don't want it. There's a couple ones that like are real obvious. I'm not going to play to the crowd that big. I'm going to get one that I really wanted now. I was a little scared with this group that it would have gone by now. So I'm going to take Triumph the Insult Dog. That bit was, and I was young when it first started. I want to say I was probably, teenager? Is that where we're going back 25 years? But I mean, I would belly laugh at that thing. When belly laughing, when you were at the age of belly laughing, you were too cool to belly laugh. Nothing was that funny. I would belly laugh, and he was
Robert
the
Smigel.
coolest. Oh, so funny. And and the bit now, like he'll do like a award show now, and I'll laugh my ass off now. Still, it's so funny. I'm still a juvenile teenager, but we all knew that. I think and that's a double. That's like an oxymoron, right? Juvenile teenager. That's the same thing. All right, I gotta go.
Okay.
Move on.
Ryan.
Someone else, please pick.
Yeah.
Someone else.
All right, so I'm either going to win this draft or I'm doing this horribly wrong because the person that I wanted to maybe pick 101 is still available. Cannot believe he's not been picked. Snoop Dogg has not been picked. Are we serious? Are we even trying here? Okay, Snoop Dogg is the pick.
I just went more literal. That's all, Ryan. I just went with actual cats and dogs.
I know.
Okay.
I may not have any.
Yeah, you got a candy bar. You got a rapper. Who are you?
I have Candy and Snoop so far, so I think I'm having a good time. And let's add Cat Williams to that crew. Cat Williams is hilarious. I love drafting comedians. He is my Kevin James of the week. So there we go. Cat Williams is my third.
Well balanced, Ryan. Very good. Very good.
Where are we going after that?
It's Jeremy. It's cool, right?
Yeah, Jeremy.
Am I? No,
Yeah.
Right?
Is it?
Right? It was Ryan. Ryan.
No,
bounced
it's
back.
Yeah, it's back to Lou.
Oh,
Yeah.
back to Lou. Sorry.
Back to Lou. Sorry. Okay. Man, I got to do this because it's so dumb, but it's almost cheating. I think this. I mean, really, it probably should be the number one pick, right? Because I'm gonna go with Cat Dog here. It's a fucking cat and a dog.
I thought about it.
What are you doing here? I fucking won the draft. Bye. Let's go. Shut it off. Let's go to sleep. It's awesome. I won. Cat Dog. Allie, you don't seem impressed. All right, Jeremy, back to you, right?
I wasn't overly impressed with Cat Dog anyways. It wasn't that
It's
great.
like
Well, it wasn't a great cartoon. I tried to do something that made.
I get it. I got you. It's perfect for the draft, but the cartoon, it wasn't my vibe.
We could be at a birthday party laughing, but you just picked Cat Dog. So
Yeah.
drinking our one beer.
How many rounds do we have to go here?
We're going 4 rounds.
4.
So,
Okay.
Yeah,
So I got 2 more picks here.
Yep.
I got to win some people back here now. I know I'm getting graded. I'm gonna go with Frank, the pug from Men in Black.
Oh,
that's a good
see,
one.
that's how you pick. That's how you pick them, Jeremy. Very. Okay, so now I'm into props. So my dog of today and also of the week is any men who have heard Britney Spears in her new memoir, The Woman in Me, that came out on Tuesday. Specifically Justin Timberlake, her dad, and just all men. So the men in The Woman in Me.
I did see that you were working. I did see that you were working on a review.
Yes.
Do you have a quick one for us yet? Have you gone far enough?
It's like you feel really bad for her. I'm going to do a book report on it. There's 49 chapters, but it is written by it's like a high school senior that's just trying to add words to a project. But it's sad, it's interesting, but it's not interesting because, but it is interesting and it's really sad. And I think a lot of the stories are made up. But and then my last and final pick is going to be Max from The Grinch. He's just so cute and like such a good sidekick, and he's just like the best. And I love him. Okay.
I'm just mad I didn't even have him on my list. I love
Oh,
The Grinch.
he's such a good boy.
I'm an idiot. I
Such a
feel
good
bad.
boy. I'm sorry. Yeah. So anyway, that's my draft.
There's a lot that I love here, and I would love nothing more than pick. There's a couple bangers that would be, they would get the crowd voting for me. But I think I need to take a sentimental.
It's fine. I'll just take 3. No, it's all right. False start.
Go, stop.
Would our guests like to pick?
No, I'm good. Whatever.
No,
I'm not going to take who you want, anyways. I'm going to
sure
stay
you
with the
won't.
holiday theme. It's spooky season. Halloween's in a couple days, right? I'm going to take Thackeray Banks. Hocus Pocus.
Okay.
I thought you were going with a different scary movie.
I thought he was going with a different scary cat.
I don't know.
All right,
Maybe.
but I like.
Who were you guys thinking?
I'm
Ryan.
going next. Ryan's Ryan's.
No, I'll say after Ryan.
Okay,
so I
okay.
don't.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah.
but
It's not a scary cat. You
I
can
will
say
say
it.
this because he's not taking the scary cat. Nick Bakay, Buffalo's own, from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, was what was that cat's name? Something Sebastian something.
No,
The cat
Salem.
Salem Saberhagen.
Salem, not
Yeah,
Salem.
Salem. I don't know how to say anything. Apparently,
That would have been a good one. I didn't even think it wasn't even on my list.
yeah,
I just really like Hocus Pocus, so
he was
something
one
like
of the
12.
ones. I just like Nick Bakay a lot. I wanted to try to, but I'm not going to do that. I am going to go with the shout out to Underdog the site, because I am currently second in their tournament with 667,000 entries, and here I am promoting their beautiful site, and they are the ones that are going to make me a millionaire here. So I got to go with Underdog as my number 4 pick because
that feels obligated,
right? I think so.
Next week is going to be Analytics for the Nerds, sponsored by Underdog. So my fourth and final pick, I'm very, very happy about making this pick because it's a dog that just puts a smile on your face. Golden Retriever. Okay, we're talking just, cream of the crop dog. I'm drafting Airbud, and he plays basketball. Airbud is so lovable. I mean, if I wasn't already winning with Kit Kat, Cat Williams, and Snoop Dogg, if I have one of the most lovable dogs of all time on the team, I feel like
that sealed it.
It's a steal.
It's over.
A steal. Yeah. I mean, a dog that can play basketball is the last pick.
I think he even plays soccer too.
It's basically getting
multi-sport athlete.
Yeah.
Multi-sport athlete. Yeah, I think by Airbud 8 he was playing volleyball.
I think he played hockey somewhere in there too. He was crazy.
The whole he was Puck Bud, I think it was.
Yeah. He's just
I don't know.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Allie, did you get some honorable mentions on your list?
Yes, I'm big fan of Wishbone. I thought someone would pick Pork Chop from Doug, Scrappy Doo, Huckleberry Hound, Droopy Dog, Odie from Garfield. I thought Garfield would be on the list. Pongo, Clifford, Goofy, Ralph from the Muppets, Mr. Peabody from Bullwinkle and Rocky, Grummet from Wallace and Grummet. I'm a big dog.
You said Garfield. He was really high up on my list. I don't know where I didn't get. You didn't say Astro. Astro is probably my favorite dog. I love the Jetsons. So Huckleberry Hound. Oh my darling, I love that you had that. Hong Kong Phooey was one of my favorites as a kid. Hong Kong Phooey. Lassie and Beethoven not getting drafted here is pretty insane. But I just couldn't do it. Cat in the Hat. Tigger, if I wanted to pick Tigger, I was not going to hear that he wasn't a cat. They're technically a cat.
He's a cat.
Mr. Bigglesworth would have been good. Puss in Boots, Mr. Jinx from Meet the Parents would have been good. We left a lot on the table.
See, this is fun. You guys both have awesome honorable mention lists, and I have a bunch as well, and none of those are even on the list. The one that I was actually considering with my last pick was Julie the cat from D2 the Mighty Ducks. I'm like thinking about all of human cats and dogs. I also was thinking Grumpy Cat, Pete the cat, Cujo, Curtis Joseph, the goalie for the Leafs, Felix the cat Hotvin, Hello Kitty. And I think that was my last one. So
how long did you spend today trying to think about a way to incorporate Kevin James?
More time than I'm willing to admit. It's there's just no.
Jeremy, we've mentioned Kevin James somehow on the podcast once every last 10 episodes somehow, but this is I guess we did just now. I guess he still got his mention.
He made it.
Yeah. We forgot Sylvester too.
Oh, Sylvester.
I forgot like half the people that you guys were naming off. There's a lot though.
Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time, more time than I probably should have, looking up cartoon dogs and cats today.
That's the fun part about being on our podcast.
Catwoman.
Yeah, it was on my radar.
Catwoman would have been good.
Yeah, I feel like I picked the stupid ones. I didn't want to go too mainstream. You can't go too mainstream. You know what I'm saying?
I get it. There is still a writer or an actor strike. I get it.
Yeah. I write my own content. It's not that great, you know. Average at best.
Thank you so much for joining us this week. Listeners, please listen to Jeremy on FTN Fantasy, where he is a featured analyst. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be one of the first 1,000 of our likers. And, you know, we have that new contest. If you like, subscribe, and share, you can be our fourth square and give us an idea for drafting. So good luck to everyone on week 8. Godspeed. And thank you for joining us at Analytics Are for the Nerds.